All right, guys. What's up? What's up, everybody? You got Darren here, Tyler adjusting his camera over there, Casey chilling out. We're here on a Sunday night, ready to do the 99 redraft. Pretty good draft, actually, overall. You know, better than the ones we've kind of been doing. The other ones were more top-heavy. This one's actually pretty deep. There's a lot of third string, fourth string options here. You know, maybe even a few second string options in this draft. So it's pretty deep.
There was 9 All-Stars in this draft.
Yeah, pretty solid draft. I was pleasantly surprised when we were going through it that I was actually thought we'd have some decent picks going through it. I thought some interesting things about the draft that I wanted to point out real quick is that a few players in the top 10 that none of us are going to pick, or top 15 that none of us are going to pick that were picked. We have one of the high schoolers, Jonathan Bender. We remember him. He was the 5th overall pick by Toronto. He didn't last very long, 8 years. And then we had Trajan Langdon. We remember him from Duke.
Out of Alaska.
11th pick overall. He only lasted 3 years. And then we also had a few other guys. Also, the Warriors picked this year, 26th overall, one of our favorites of all time, Montego Cummings. Lasted 3 years in the league. This is the Montego. Yes, they drafted him. He played 2 years for the Warriors. He averaged 9.4 points his first year, 7.3 his second year. He shot a whopping 42% and 34%.
Where did he go to college?
I don't know how I know this. I don't even think I need to look it up. I'm going to look it up just to test myself. I'm going to say Pittsburgh. I believe it's where he went. I'm going to see if I'm right. I am not right. Yes, I am. He went to high school in Georgia. He did go to Pittsburgh, yes.
I thought interesting fact from here before we get started. It was the first.
Besides the Montego Cummings fact, I was kidding.
It was the first draft with the same college with 4 guys drafted in the first round.
Yeah, that Duke team, huh?
Yeah, it was Elton Brand number 1, Trajan Langdon number 11, Corey Maggette at number 13, and 14 was William Avery.
I remember being kind of interested in this draft too because I was a big Baron Davis fan at UCLA. And then I also really, Casey, you were talking about the Duke. I really enjoyed that national championship game that year before between UConn and Duke and a lot of these players. So I was kind of interested in the draft because I just thought that was a really good college basketball game at that time. So I remember being kind of excited for this draft.
Are you going to take Khalid El-Abid?
I'm kind of waiting to see if you will. All right, so in the last drafts, we ripped on Casey for the 2 previous, and then he ended up on the winning end last side. And then Dirk Nowitzki, the 2 Hall of Famers, Dirk and Antoine, are the.
Hey, if we ever get to that top 25 players who aren't in the Hall of Fame, I'm sure you'll mention him.
He's going to be on the list for sure.
One interesting nugget before we get going too. I did some deep research on this draft, and I was like,
we like a little deep dive. We like deep diving. That's how we do these drafts. That's how we do.
He did deep.
It was Pablo Prigioni was the oldest NBA rookie to ever play a game at 35 years old.
Okay, can you say that name the way you're probably supposed to say it? How do you say it? Pablo
Prigioni.
Is he Italian?
He went undrafted, but his NBA debut was at 35 years old, which was the oldest rookie in history.
And he looked 42.
His name sounds 42. It sounds All right, so Tyler, you get the first pick this time. I get second. Casey, you get third. Last time you ended up with the third pick. You ended up with Alan Henderson and Jason Caffey. I think you can do better this time. All right, Tyler, you get the first pick. I'm kind of curious who you're going to go with here. Who you going with, my friend?
I want to take Baron, but I'm just going to take the Argentinian, the monkey bet, Manu. I think he could have done more with more minutes and more of a role, like as far as more shots, scored more points. But
What's the first thing you think of when you think of Manu? Flopping, hair, championships, lefty. I mean, what do you think of when you think of him?
The Euro
He's
step.
Euro step. Yeah, that's kind of like he's kind of that thing. That was his thing, huh? But I don't really think
He
of
like
him when
invented it.
I kind of think of Harden more. So
Well, he perfected it.
yeah, 4-time champ, 2-time All NBA, 2-time All Star.
Olympic
You know,
champion.
he only won the Sixth Man of the Year once, which is kind of surprising. You know, just kind of would assumed he maybe would have won it more, but he probably sat a little bit. Averaged 13.3 points a game. To me, I remember him for that shot he hit against the Warriors that one year in the playoffs, where the Warriors blew Game 1. He hit that killer shot. He always seemed to be clutch, huh?
Yeah.
That was his DNA. He was
Good
just a clutch
playmaker.
player.
And he was hard. He was a hard-nosed player too.
Yeah, he wasn't a soft Euro. He was always
not at all.
had some cut, some bruise.
It sounded like he pissed off Popovich a lot with his play at the beginning because he was kind of out of control a little bit and stuff.
Him and Tony Parker tested his patience.
I think one of his most impressive feats is winning a gold medal in the Olympics.
Beating Allen Iverson and the USA Olympic team.
LeBron was playing behind Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, Ginobili, can't go wrong with him. He's a 4-time champ, obviously. Multiple haircuts, multiple looks. And the thing about him too is he was a team player for sure the whole time. And he came in the league at 25, so you figure if he comes in 4 years, he comes in like the same time as Doncic is, his numbers are even better, of course, too.
Yeah, but he's never averaging 30, 10, and 8.
No, he didn't. His best year was 19 in 2007. The years he made the All-Star team, he was at 17 and 15. So,
and he's gonna be a Hall of Famer too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that. Olympic gold medalist, and you know what I mean, and 4-time champ. Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so Tyler, you got Manu at either shooting guard or point guard, probably there. I'm gonna go with my top guy on my board. I'm gonna go with Sean Marion, and I'm gonna take the Matrix with my first pick. Kind of like did not think about him at all when he was drafted, obviously, because he was out of New Mexico. I wasn't watching too many, or out of UNLV, I mean. And I wasn't watching too many UNLV games. 4-time All-Star, I didn't realize he was 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. Did end up with a championship. He averaged 15 points, 8 rebounds, 1.9 assists. And it was just so crucial on those just so really exciting Suns teams. And I just remember he was just kind of a different player at that time. One of those first, what do you say, wing players that could kind of shot weird, but he was capable of making the three.
Shot weird.
Okay, shot really weird.
Yeah,
but he was just like he was a really good defense to offense player, and he was smart on offense.
And
you didn't have to call any plays for him.
He was super consistent. He was super consistent. And I was like shocked when I saw his numbers. I was like, he was actually a hell of a rebounder. And then every year in his NBA career, he averaged 10 points or more, except for, I believe, his third year and his last year. And then his career high in rebounds he did 3 times, was 24 rebounds 3 times. I was like, I don't remember him being that good.
One game.
No,
I mean, obviously.
Well, I mean, not per game. But.
No, not per game.
He was kind of like the perfect wingman to Nash and Stoudemire too, huh? Like if you had to create almost a third guard, I mean, he'd be like almost the perfect guy in a sense. I mean, maybe if he could shoot, I'm sure there's a better guy out there, Hall of Famer.
He was a hell of a defender.
But a realistic guy, you know what I mean? He was solid. Just want to give you some of his numbers from 01 to 07 here. He has 17 points. Real quick, 17 points, 19, 21, 19, 19, 21. Now, that's a pretty good stretch of scoring points there. I mean, I know the Suns score a lot of points, but I didn't really think of Sean Marion as that type of scorer. And then he was also getting 11 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 9 rebounds. And then I thought back to this and I was like, oh yeah, he was the first pick in fantasy basketball every year. I forgot.
Yeah, he was getting
everything.
steals and blocks too.
Yeah, good T.
The knock probably on his how much of a product was he of Steve Nash's? Because you look at the numbers when he leaves the Suns, they've dropped. I mean, he's still a quality player, still a very serviceable starter and above it. But he's also getting older, so
he's a third guy. I mean, right?
Yeah.
To me, he's a way better Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, way better. Yeah, for sure. Because Marion, I mean,
I think there's a guy that gets drafted later who, if he played with those Nash in this draft, if he got drafted with Nash, going to put up similar numbers.
Hey, we're gonna later do a podcast on our top 25 all underrated NBA team that are not Hall of Famers. Marion probably will end up on that list one day. People will forget about him. Derek's generation will not remember Sean Marion and how good of a player he was. So I would Marion's second pick. Casey, you get the third pick. Who are you going with?
I think this is a no-brainer right now, and I'm kind of surprised you passed on him since you had his rookie card. But I'm going with Baron Davis, a.k.a.
Too many injuries. That was the problem with it.
Not everyone drafts a player because they read a book.
Yeah. Well, sometimes maybe the best
I agree with you on this one. I would have taken Baron Davis.
The sentimental value. I got you.
I almost took Baron Davis 1.
I got you.
To me, I don't know. He was in his prime. I think he was probably the best in this draft, in my opinion. In his prime, at his highest level.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, Marion had pretty high level.
No, I agree. But to me, Baron Davis, when you have the
Steve Francis.
Yeah, I agree. But when you have the ball in your hands and you're the facilitator, and he was kind of like the first, to me, like scoring point guard, like at that era.
Like Derrick Rose.
Yeah, just dominated the ball.
Kind of like a street ball point guard, huh?
Yeah. And so, I mean, he was a two-time All-Star, two-time Steel Champion, 03-04 All-NBA team. And then for his career, which is pretty solid, 16 points per game, 7 assists. His best game to me, which I was like, man, that's when I was like, if he didn't have injuries and, which is, it's going to happen in any sport. But just like when I looked at his game stats, I was like, damn, for one game he had 40 points, 5 blocks, 7 steals, 19 assists, and 12 rebounds. Like, you're like, this guy's a beast. Like, if you can put up those numbers in a game, you got to be pretty damn good.
That was one single game, or that was like his career highs in each game?
No, that was one single game.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
He had a mean left shoulder. When you put that left shoulder into you as a guard, you know what I mean? I remember that was what I remember liking the most about him.
He was huge.
And the thing I liked about him, even when in college, Case, was his like kind of that street ball element. Like he would have these like, I mean, if you look at some of his YouTube moves, they're legit. Like I heard somebody say they compared him to like the Rod Strickland of like that early '90s career, and I could see that, like a guy who could post up, ISO, make these fancy passes, and a couple-time All-Star player.
Rod Strickland didn't have the athleticism Baron Davis had.
Well, I just kind of thought of the comparison, maybe just in the sense of like kind of that street ball type of game, and like we kind of like he just kind of looks like he would go out there and just kind of hoop you up basically. But obviously Baron Davis wasn't good enough to lead a team to the championship by himself. I mean, he wasn't that type of player, we can admit, but he's still a hell of a player.
That type of player,
for sure.
And people, obviously, we're big Warriors fans. He did leave a number 8 over a number 1 seed, which was in the final the year before.
He made him legit again.
Yeah. And it was just exciting. It made the Warriors relevant again for the first time. It was the first superstar they had, I would say, in 20 years, 30 years maybe.
I wouldn't say he was a superstar.
He for obviously,
for that team, it was the first.
He didn't even make the All-Star on that team.
He didn't make the All-Star, but he was definitely the first, like, legitimate All-Star they've had. I agree with you, Case. When they made that trade for him, well, hear me out. I'm not going to say superstar. He's not a superstar, but he was.
That was my man. He was a star.
He was a star, and he got him to the playoffs, and that's what stars do. And he won him a playoff round, and that's what borderline. He was borderline. He's not as good as Damian Lillard, right? Would you say that? No. I would say he's not as good as Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
So I'd say he's like a level below, right? And Damian Lillard by himself can't even get a team he won't be able to get a team to probably the NBA Finals.
He could barely make the playoffs this year.
Exactly. So, but my point is with Davis anyways is when he was on the Hornets, he was the engine to those really good teams. And then when he got traded to the Warriors, which was just a horrible trade for the Hornets, Speedy Claxton and Dale Davis. It was a salary down.
He ended up with the perfect players around him. They literally all street ball.
Yes. Oh, I went to my favorite game of all time. I have, you guys will appreciate this one. It was 3 games into his career with the Warriors, and you could tell they were, Dunleavy was playing better. Murphy, they were spreading the court. Montgomery looked like a good coach actually for a few weeks there because he had Baron Davis. He was running pick and roll like every play with a Donald Foyle. Like, you know what I mean? It actually like made plays because they had a point guard. Yeah, because he had a point guard that could get to the hoop. And then Dunleavy was open for 3. It's like, oh, what a concept. And they played the Suns, and this is the Suns at their peak, basically, with Stoudemire. And Stoudemire in this game, I mean, he destroys Foyle with a dunk. It's the greatest dunk I've ever seen live at a game. And but the Warriors win 138-135. It's the best game I've ever been to. It was so awesome. So Baron Davis just electrocuted that team as soon as they got him, like you said.
And on a personal note, this is how much I love that team. Was Darren, my brother, will never forgive me this for me ever in my entire life. I passed up floor seats courtside to see the Warriors play the Denver Nuggets to try and get
I appreciated that decision.
I Carmelo and Allen Iverson.
AI went off.
It was probably the best NBA game I've ever seen with that much talent involved live, because I don't go to too many NBA games, but seeing like seven guys that really could play basketball.
And really, wow, you have a picture.
Huh?
Yeah, that's how far back it goes. Darren has a picture up.
Oh, really? I can't even see it.
Man, look at my hair. That was when I loved Steve Nash.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Darren, show that up one more time. No, you can't hear.
I went to a game when Montgomery was coaching Baron Davis, and they played the Spurs. And the only Spur that was played was Tony Parker. And they went to double overtime, and Tony Parker lit them up. I was like, my God, I didn't know Tony Parker was this good.
And that's when you're like, man, Tony Parker's even better than Baron Davis. That surprises me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Unreal. He'd make every 15-footer. I was like, God damn it. Someone just
we look pretty young in that picture.
You're playing with like not Ross and Nesterovich and
oh gosh, yeah, Malik Rose.
Yeah.
We look pretty young in that picture, huh?
Oh God.
I thought you guys were gonna kick out of that. All right, we'll speed this baby going a little bit more here since we got the good players we wanted to talk about here.
All right.
Tyler, who you got here with the 4th?
I got a 2-way tie. Play the same position, but they play it totally differently.
All right.
And I'll take the Scrotum.
Scrotum?
Yeah. For Lamar Odom.
Odom, okay. I had him number 11 on my board. That surprises me.
I had him 6, but I don't want Elton Brand, and I just didn't want Elton Brand.
You want the cocaine? I got it. We got it.
No, he likes candy. Candy.
Chloe
Kardashian. You're a Kardashian. Yeah, all right, I guess. Odom's a good player, though. I kind of remember him. Did he play with Mobley at Rhode Island or no?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
He was on that team where they hit that buzzer beater.
Okay, he did. Okay.
That's a good pick, Tyler.
He could have got drafted by a worse team, though.
The Clippers?
Yeah. Like, I mean, that probably couldn't have been – that probably had to be the worst team he probably –
They were the only franchise ever that was more futile than the Warriors.
Here's a guy that can't keep it together. Go ahead, Jason.
They had the most racist owner that ever probably – I won't say
I don't know about that. I'm not going that far.
I'm not going to say most racist, but, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean –
yeah, I would agree.
He's the only racist owner to get caught on tape, basically. That's the way you go there.
He's the only owner in my lifetime that's ever got voted out and banned by a whole league. So that's insane.
The Niners owner got voted out or kicked out.
Who was that?
The main guy. What was his name? DeBartolo.
Eddie. The thing. Real quick
he had offshore gambling thing or something.
Yeah, but that
Carmen policy.
That wasn't
Eddie DeBartolo, not Carmen.
But that wasn't. But that wasn't racism towards the.
No, it wasn't racism at all.
Like I remember Baron Davis saying he played for the Clippers, and he turned around and he's like, "Who the hell's heckling me, calling me the N-word?" And he turned around, it's his owner.
Yeah, that's probably not a good sign. Hey, Odom, I didn't realize he averaged 16.6.
Woman, though. What?
He did. He averaged 16.6 points his first year and 17 his second year. So
and then he stopped shooting.
He played well. His stats are great. Yeah, he never got more than like 18 points, but that really wasn't his game. He was more like a floor game. And with those Lakers teams, it was, man, what a good team. Like when you had Bynum and Gasol and Odom, that was such a big lineup, I remember. Like they would just dominate the boards. Remember? That was a huge team. And then you have Kobe at the 2, and Fisher's strong.
That team probably rivaled the Thunder's height.
Yeah, they didn't have the athleticism, but yeah, I would say the Thunder would struggle against them.
I think people forget how versatile and how athletic he was. Like when I keep looking at best games for players, I'm like astonished. Like his best game, and I'm like, dude, if you can do this in a game, like you obviously have like a top 5 quality. 34 points, 9 blocks, 4 steals, 11 assists, and 16 rebounds in a game. Like that's like you gotta be pretty damn good to do those numbers.
No, for sure. And he got traded, and he was in the Shaq trade as well. I want to throw that out. Remember, he was with Miami for 1 year. He was in that trade to LA, and then he stayed with LA for quite a while there, obviously. All right, so Tyler Odom, that's a good pick. You got Odom and Ginobili, the lefties, going all lefties.
You had him at 11?
Huh?
You had him at 11?
I have him at 11 here. All right.
God.
I'm gonna go with Elton Brand with the next pick.
He did like injuries.
He did, but he still played somehow. It's funny how these guys have injuries somehow sustained such long careers. He somehow played 17 years. Horrible GM as of right now with the Sixers. I don't want to get into those decisions, but 2-time All-Star, 2005, 2006 All-NBA, Rookie of the Year. If it wasn't for injuries, he obviously, I think, would have had an even better career. He went 20-20 his first 2 years, 18, 20, 20. He had a 24-point year, 20. That's what he did his first 7 years. So, and then he started to get hurt towards that point of his career when he was about 28. Solid player, went to Philadelphia after that, and then kind of went down.
He had like one good year
from there. Huh?
I think he had like one good year there. Like where it's like, wow, Elton Brand's back. He actually.
Yeah, he had 15 points in 10, 11. I think that's probably the one you're probably referring to there.
I guess that's not as good.
He had a really good. I remember he had a really good like elbow jumper, mid-range jumper, and he was. The other thing I liked about him that he was. I remember him in college though, just be unstoppable. Like he was like no doubt the best player in college.
Talk about Tyler Hansborough on steroids.
Yeah, like
college junior on steroids.
Yeah, he was unreal in college, and you just forget how good he because he's on those Bulls teams. Those were horrible to start out with, and then those Clippers teams. They had a couple good runs there where they even made the Western Conference Finals or the semifinals, and I believe they went to a Game 7 in the semifinals against the Suns there. And
Cassell was on that team?
I want to say Sam Cassell, Sean Livingston, and they had a few else that they have on that team. Possibly Lamar Odom could have been on that team too. I don't know. Right. So I'm going to go with Elton Brand. I thought he was a good player. So I'm happy. I'm definitely happy getting my fourth rated player here with the 5th pick. Casey, who do you got?
I'm going to go a little down on the board, but I think I can get a couple players later. But based on position, I'm going to go with Ron Artest, a.k.a. Meta World Peace.
Thank you for throwing that out. I would have forgot that.
Yeah. One-time All-Star, 09, 2010 champ, 03, 04 All-NBA. For his career, pretty solid, 13 points per game, 4 rebounds. In 04, 05, actually, I didn't realize he's actually a pretty good scorer. He averaged 24.6 per game for the year. 11 years, which I was shocked. And I was like, I knew he was a great defensive player, but for 11 years, he had 2 steals or more, which is pretty incredible.
That's crazy. That's really incredible.
Yeah, and then he made the playoffs with every single team he played for, which was Chicago, Indiana, Sacramento, Houston, and LA, except for one stint with the New York Knicks, which everyone never makes the playoffs with the Knicks. But I was like, to me, though.
4-time all-defense case? Jeez.
And one thing I looked up, though, which I was pretty shocked. I did a lot of research on him, and I was pretty surprised. Indiana in 04-05, he only played 7 games. 05-06 only played 16.
I think he got kicked out of the league that year.
Yeah, that was the year he was suspended.
And then 01 and 02, he only played 28 games. So I was like, he was like, he didn't really have a lot of durability, but obviously the malice in the palace, everyone remembers that. But for a while, I mean, even on Chicago, who was drafted, he was a good player. Indiana, where he took his hype to another level. Sacramento, and then LA. So everywhere he went, he was a pretty cognitive player.
He had a couple sneaky good years there in Sacramento. He had when he got traded there. They made the playoffs all 3 years, and he averaged like 18 points every year too. And a couple other moments we have to throw out about our test is him pantsing Paul Pierce is one of them. The vicious elbow to James Harden.
Oh,
that's another one of them. And then getting up in Kobe's face when he was on the Rockets is one of my favorite ones as well. And I think he had a couple on the Bulls. I can't remember. He had a few incidents with the Bulls early on.
He wouldn't go. He got a job as a grocery clerk or something, like in the middle of the season or something. He did something wild. Got it something like.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know what the job was, but I know he did something wild like that.
The thing about our test case about his defense is he probably could have been the best player in this draft if he didn't have any if he was just a focused player, if he had no mental issues, he maybe could have been the best player in this draft. I believe that. I mean, he played really hard. He played like Draymond, but he actually had offensive game in a sense. He just didn't have the passing ability.
He reminded me of a modern day Dennis Rodman, but with more skill.
Yeah, he just brought energy, and his defense. He was ferocious. Yeah, he was a good player.
His defense is weird because you didn't think of him having quick feet or anything. But he could move his feet. I bet he had the strongest hand. I bet if you shook his hand, he could break every bone in your hand. If you would do. He
would manipulate people's body position too before they would catch the ball really well. I remember that because he was so strong. He could angle him with his feet. Like he said, maybe he wasn't as fast as certain guys, but he always defended him.
Knew how to play angles and
he was one of my favorite players in this draft.
He looked like an athletic construction worker.
Casey, I had him 6, and you took him 6, and so I approve of this message. No, just kidding.
Means a lot.
Right. Thank you. I don't know anything about the NFL apparently, so I'm going to pretend like I know something about the NFL. All right, Tyler, here you go at the 7th pick.
I'll take the Undertaker, Richard Hamilton.
That's who I had here too. Yeah, he's a good player.
Just
had cornrows.
Yeah, he had cornrows.
Ran 7 miles a day.
Yeah, cornrows. Is that what you said? Cornrows?
I didn't say that. He said it.
He did.
He was just a good player. Could shoot the ball. Not the most range, but I'm sure he could have developed it if they – I don't know, but he didn't, so.
2-point specialist running around, right? Right? That was his game for sure.
Run circles.
I can't remember his defense. I don't remember anything being too special about it, but
it was good enough to play on that team.
You get the early Wizards years, and then you get the Pistons years. You get a good shooter there. All right, so
he was a 3-time All-Star. So
I know. I wonder if that was more. Do you think that was more to the team, or? I'm asking. We have to think back to Hamilton, right? We have to give him the proper respect. He was a solid player. He was pretty clutch too, coming off those screens, and he just was a scrawny little guy. But I thought in case you're right, he kind of forget about 3-time All-Star. That's pretty good.
He wore a mask for his career.
That's right. He did wear that after he got broke his nose so many times.
He never took it off though.
That's true.
Think about if he shot threes. He averaged 17 points per game for his career. So then he only shot 2s.
Yeah, that's true. He probably could have developed that range too. 17 points a game for his career average. That's a pretty impressive thing.
Yeah, but you got to kind of fault him for never developing it.
Yeah, never.
I don't know. At some point, it's why didn't you develop it?
That's true. Yeah. He never took very many in a season at all. All right, so Casey.
Impressive getting 51 points on only 2 3-pointers.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That is impressive.
How many free throws? I don't know if he could get to the line or not. I don't know. I don't recall him driving too much.
His most was 18 free throws in a game.
That's a lot.
Oh, that's a ton, yeah. All right, I'm going to go with Jason Terry. What's the next pick here? Arizona product.
Arizona.
Benny and the Jets.
I just always liked his game. I mean, he never made an all-star team or anything like that, but I feel like that was just I feel like in a way that was partially because he was a sixth man. The West always had, pretty solid guards to where he never was going to be able to make that list.
His best numbers, I bet, were when he was in the Eastern Conference, would be my guess.
Well, when he was first drafted with Atlanta, he was getting 19, 17. Then he went to Dallas. He was coming off the bench, and he was still getting roughly around that. Like, he basically averaged 15 points that whole time with Dallas. Had a good little run there with Houston at the end, and then hung on for about 5 years, which dropped his scoring average down quite a bit. So he averaged 13.4 points a game. I always liked Terry's game. He was clutch, and he was really clutch the year they won the championship. He was so damn clutch, he put a tattoo of a championship on before they actually won the championship. So that's telling you this guy has some balls too. So I'm a big Jason Terry fan. He's also going to he's going to be borderline on that underrated list as well. That's not a Hall of Famer. Yeah. So I'm going Jason Terry. So anything stick out about him to you guys, Tyler?
He played great for Arizona.
Yes, he did. All right, Case, your pick.
This one I've been kind of going back.
He wore high socks in his early days.
He did, and a headband, actually.
Not Rob Johnson.
No cornrosies.
This one I've been kind of going back and forth on his talent over position for my team, but I feel like I'm slapping in the face if I don't take him. But I gotta take Steve Francis.
Ooh, go with the double point guard look. Barrett and Steven. We like it.
So, I mean, there's another guy I really wanted to take, but, I mean, I can't deny a 3-time All-Star, 99, is all rookie. That same year, rookie of the year. I mean, first career, he had a pretty damn good career, 18 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. So, I mean, he was a
pretty good dunk contest performance. I remember.
Great dunk contest against Big Ten.
Yeah.
And I believe in 2003 he was on the cover of NBA Live. So
I give him a little credit there.
You're right.
So, but I don't know. He was kind of, to me, like, kind of carried the Rockets' legacy for a little bit. Just
do we feel like he was a winning player?
No. Not mine.
I don't. And that was the thing that I had a hard time with him as a point guard. I felt like he was more of a scoring point guard, but the talent around him, I wouldn't necessarily was the worst, not the best, but
he was a poor man's Allen Iverson.
Yeah, because he wasn't even getting 7 assists, and he was turning it over half as much as he was getting assists.
To me, it felt like he fell into the category of like a Stephon Marbury.
Yeah, he only played 9 years in the league, or 10 years. That's not very many.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I forgot he ended up with Orlando for a couple of years too, and then New York. Didn't Mobley end up with those Orlando teams again too? I feel like.
I remember Mobley on Orlando.
Yeah, Francis. That's a good pick. Yeah, interesting player. Just kind of like you said, Marbury. That's kind of a good comparison. Like you're like, oh, Francis. Did they win the game? Good numbers? No, didn't win the game. Yeah, that kind of thing. So.
He got a nickname named Stevie Franchise, but never lived up to it.
Stevie Franchise. Tyler, I'm interested to see where you go with this one based on your team so far.
I wanted to take Wally's World just based on you developed your whole shot, the way you shoot the basketball looking at Wally. But I'm going to take the greatest nickname of all time, AK-47, Andre Karolinko.
Good pick.
And very versatile. He owned the Warriors in that We Believe year until Ted Barron owned him for one play, and that's all anyone remembers.
Oh, he was unreal that series for sure.
Anytime the ball got near the hoop, I was like, oh, here comes a block. Yeah. Here comes another block.
But we have to remember his weakness though was his
free throws.
He didn't free throws, and he was not a consistent shooter by any means.
No,
and he didn't and he wasn't quite like Marion and him are kind of in that same mold.
That's what I was saying. Could have sort of put up similar numbers.
If he played with Steve Nash.
Yeah.
That's the thing why I almost took AK-47 because I did some pretty deep research on him. I was like, man, he actually had a way better career than I thought.
He had 3 blocks a game for a couple years.
Yeah, he's defensive player of the year.
He was a one-time All-Star in 2004, 2005. He was a block champion with 3.3 blocks a game.
Damn.
And then the next year he followed it up with 3.2 blocks per game. And then, which was weird, he only
3-time all defense case.
No. One-time All-Star, 2004-05 block champion, and then with 3.3 blocks. The next year, he had 3.2 blocks, and then he was 3-time all defense. And the weird thing though, he didn't really play a long career. He ended up actually playing in 2011, playing for the Russia team.
Yeah, he went back to Russia.
And then forgot about that.
And then
you said about Sean Marion, he was also #1 fantasy ADP a couple of years.
But I always feel like he was hurt a lot too, as I remember. Wasn't he? I feel like he always had some nagging injuries along the way. I always feel like he was hurt.
I don't think he got along with Jerry Sloan very much.
Yeah,
because it's funny. It's funny
that's
because
a good pick, actually.
It's funny you brought the Sean Marion stats because I've been interested in looking up the stats for these guys, like the best games they had, and about fantasy. And his best game I looked up that I could find was 25 points, 10 blocks, 6 steals, 11 assists, and 18 rebounds in one game.
Yeah, that's a quadruple double, right?
Defensive game, and then adding 25. 25 is not that impressive. You had 10 blocks, 6 steals.
Yeah, when you first started saying that, I was like, that sucks.
Exactly.
All right, so Tyler, Andre Kirilenko, that's a good.
But then you got to do that.
I had Kirilenko with my 10th overall guy, so I'm going to go with my 8th overall guy. I feel like I get pretty good value here with him. I'm going to go with Andre Miller.
That's a good pick.
One of the best post-up guards of all time, would we say? Possibly, maybe. At least in our lifetime, anyways. He was he had an interesting career, man. He played absolutely forever. And what team did he end up on when he retired?
The Spurs.
Spurs, yes, he did, folks.
He started with the Utah Utes in college.
And made it to somehow. That's how you know he was a good team or a good player when he made it to the championship game on Utah against Kentucky. So that's how you knew he was a good player when he got his team all the way to the national championship.
I didn't know they went that far. I thought they were like a first round and out. I knew they were like a top seed for a couple years with him.
Or maybe it was the Final Four. I think they made the championship.
They might have made the championship.
So he played
with Rick Majerus.
He played for Cleveland for a few years, then ended up Clippers for 1 year. Then he was with Denver for a while, and I thought his best years were with Denver. That was what I thought. They played with Philly and Portland, back with Denver, but I thought his Denver years were really good. He had a good stretch early, and then he went back to Denver, and that's when the Warriors played him in the playoffs that second time around. But he was still good then too. Remember, he hit the game-winning shot in Game 1 against the Warriors in that playoff.
These damn flat-footed shots.
He's like a point guard version of Zach Randolph by the end of his career.
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
His best year was 2001, 2002 because he was the assist champion.
Yeah, 10.9 assists. That's right.
Yeah. For that year, I was like, damn, that's a really damn good year when you average 16.5 points a game and then average 10.9 assists for the year. That's
solid. And only 3 turnovers, so that's pretty good too.
I mean, his best. Like I said, I'm obsessed looking at best games. But I'm like, when I looked at this draft, I was like, man, these guys were like, it's a pretty deep draft. I mean, in one game, I was like, damn, he almost had a quadruple double. He had 37 points, 9 steals, 22 assists, and 10 rebounds.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Yeah, I'm happy with getting Miller here. Like I said, I had him 8th overall, and I'm getting him here with the 11th pick. So I'm happy with that. Casey, who you getting? You're next.
This one's a little tough, man, because we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. But there's still some really good players when I look at it.
Our teams are pretty even right now. We're gonna have,
I have no big. There's no bigs. You're the only one with a – well, I guess I have Odom.
I have Elton Brand. Casey, you're a little small, but you got the guards there. So who are you going here?
Well, what do you mean? I got Ron Artest on my small forward.
Well, you can play center. He's pretty buff.
That's talking about big.
Yeah, no, I'm actually gonna go a little off the map here a little bit, but
All right.
I'm gonna go with Chris Anderson, the Birdman.
I thought going Montego kind of means buff. All right.
No, he went undrafted, but
He got
Casey always
catfished.
went. I like how Casey always busts out the undrafted gems here. He's going with Ben Wallace and go with Chris Anderson.
you got to do some research on these draft picks. But
all right, you get the most tattoos in the league.
2012, 2013 block champion, and
Was he with Denver then?
He started with he had actually.
No, was he with Denver on that year?
I remember him starting on Denver, but I'm sure he started somewhere else.
Denver, and then went to Miami.
No, when he won the block, when he was the block champion, that was probably with Denver, huh?
Yeah, and then he had a really interesting career, which actually ended up on Catfish, the MTV show. He ended up getting caught into a minor having sex with her, and then went public. But then they found out they both got catfished, which turned out pretty interesting story, which made a lot of headline news. So he got suspended for the NBA for a year, and then 2 years. Not officially, but he did go under substance abuse for 2 years for drugs.
He had sex with a minor and he didn't go to jail.
How do you pull that off?
It was coerced because a lady in between kind of messed up some things that she was a catfish and played both of them, texting them as she was Chris Anderson and texting her as
they both got catfished together. Oh, that's a crazy story. What a psycho lady! That lady should go to jail.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is very interesting. Well, it's hard to beat that with Tyler, your next pick. So.
I'm doing some research, baby. Where are you guys at?
I'm liking my. I'm just saying. I'm liking my team, by the way.
I was going to take him last time, but we'll go with him this time and take Shooter McGavin. Wally Zerbiak.
Oh, my hero.
Couple-time All-Star.
Where did he go to college?
Wally went to
Bonus Boys. They made it to the Sweet 16. Come on.
Hold on. What the heck?
Come on. There's another city. It's the same college Ben Roethlisberger went to.
Miami,
Ohio?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
I didn't know he went there.
I was like,
they were in the same bathroom stall.
Butler, but a different type of Butler.
A different type of a whiter Butler.
What Butler's kind of white? It's in Indiana. I was thinking like that, or where did McDermott?
Some of the best. He had some of the best hair in the league too.
Where did McDermott
go? Creighton.
Yeah, like something like that.
Okay, I gotcha. What was his best years? Probably was that year with the Timberwolves, right? That they made it to the Western Conference Finals. That was his all-star. That was his all-star year. Hard to believe, Wally made this. So you get an all-star with your last pick. That's a pretty solid pick. You got to be happy with that.
I have a bunch of threes and a 2 and a 1.
He played on the NBA Finals, or he played on Seattle. I did not know that. That is a random. I did not know he ended up on Seattle for a year. So you get Wally with the last pick. All right. So Tyler, liking your team?
I got Odom at the center, Karolinko at the 4, Wally, Rhett, and Denode. Not bad.
I think by you taking Zerbiak, that kind of makes this pick a little easier for me. I'm going to go with Hana's boy, James Posey, with this pick here. James Posey, solid player. I don't know, good defender. Could occasionally kind of hit the corner 3 kind of by the end of his career.
Was on the Celtics.
Yeah, it was kind of always like he started a little bit here or there, but it was, better as like a 6th or 7th man. I'd say probably even more of a 7th man on most teams. But if you had him as your 7th man, you were probably doing all right, though. So a pretty good player. He contributed pretty good to those Celtics teams, too, at times. So I'm going to go James Posey with the final pick. I'm loving my team, by the way, too. So, all right, Case, last pick. Who are you going with here?
So I basically got 2 point guards, but a shooting guard. I got Ron Artest, playing my small. And then, I don't know. If I just go with talent, I'm going to go with man, that's a tough one, man.
Corey.
Yeah.
He gets to the free throw line.
Yeah, I almost thought about taking Kenny Thomas. But,
He has great biceps. Corey Maggette.
Kenny Thomas did have a double in 2004.
Yeah, he was a machine, but I'll go with Corey McGee.
Machine.
I'll go with Corey McGee. Pretty solid. I mean, he's a scorer, 16 points per game. 22 was his career high for 2 years. Not much. He's just mainly a scorer, kind of a real small forward type of guy, shooting guard. So I'll go with Corey Maggette, probably the most talented guy left on the board here.
The thing about Corey Maggette is I always coincide him with Monte Ellis's drop-off.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm always like, that's when it started, once he joined the team.
And what a horrible sighting, right? Like 4 years, 50 million. You're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
he did have the best body I've ever seen for a freshman in college, other than LeBron. LeBron would have taken that over if he ever went to college.
Yeah, I think the most notable guy that we didn't pick was Roger Bell.
Right, yeah, another undrafted. Well, I think I don't usually go with the undrafted guys because they weren't technically drafted. So, but I give you the benefit of the doubt. So you should have took that. I think that would have been a better pick.
Is anyone eligible for this draft?
Well, I just don't usually go with the undrafted guys. That's
you got to look Wikipedia, my friend. Do some research.
I wanted to throw out another guy another guy that I think we need to give some much respect to. He made it to the NBA Finals 1 year.
Rip Hamilton. 1 year.
Rip Hamilton beat his team in college, knocked them out of the Sweet 16. I'm going to go with the big man, the big white man, the Brian Johnson lookalike, Todd McCullough, was in this draft. So we need to show him the proper respect as well.
Poor man's big country.
Devin George also is in this draft. Oh man, this starts to get bad after a while, huh?
Well, my team is very athletic.
I like my team, man. Marion, Brand, Terry, Miller, Posey. I have the best big. That's the issue for you guys.
Well, Odom could do okay. He could
survive.
Right. Could do okay. He can help defense.
Yeah, that's true. You could probably.
I think I have the best team.
It could be close. It'd be close there. Casey's got the most interesting team I'd want to watch. Barrett, Artest, Steve Francis, Anderson. that's quite a lot of duck length there. All right, guys, that was fun. I'm looking forward to the 2001. That one's going to be an interesting one. It's not quite as deep as this one. This one was pretty deep, but it gets a little bad. But it's probably the worst draft of all time. So we'll see how we do it.
Who was the first pick that year? Kwame?
Kenya Martin.
Oh God, Marcus Pfizer and.
Well, we're curious to see where Keon Dooling was in this draft pick. So we might have to only go top 12 with this one. All right,
this might deserve a skip.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to get skipped on this one. All right, guys, take it easy. Later.
Yeah. Later.